Tobracketology.
We're back. We hope you enjoyed that Englishness that we did last week.
And now we're on Virginia Perique,
which is a superior blend.
Superior to all blends. Except for Virginia, because I don't even think Virginia is a blend. Someone's going to yell at me for that.
Oh, like you don't consider straight Virginia a blend?
I mean,
well, technically, by the term blend, it's not. Unless it's a blend of red and bright. Mm-hmm. Then it is a blend.
Yeah. It just seems like it's like from the same. Yeah. I get it. I'm showing my ignorance right now. It just frustrates me. It's just like I just want to hear Virginia Flake. I don't want to hear your blends.
Mm. Well, I was about to say you like Virginia Flake.
That's my gosh, I love it. I love it. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, maybe don't call it a blend. That's just me.
I don't know. It makes sense, I guess. I like, yeah. Now we're starting off with the voted number 1 seed, Escudo Navy De Luxe.
Escudo Navy De Luxe by the Scandinavian Tobacco Group. Mm-hmm. Now these cats just keep coming up. Scandinavian Tobacco Group really they just get it. They can just blend really well.
This is my first go with Escudo, and I really I think it's the first time I've ever had a coin.
A curly cut.
Yes, this is the first time I've ever had this, and I mean. I like it. It's the number 1 seed for a reason.
The great thing about a coin, or a curly cut, or a medallion, or a doubloon, whatever your preferred disc reference is that you can take 1, you can take 3, you can fold it, you can rub it out. I mean, it's the best. It is the most versatile tobacco. And I can tell you right now, I mean, you can this is the only thing that frustrates me about Escudo is on an even playing field with the Dunhill Navy rolls, and they're made by the same group, but the Dunhill ones have always cost more, and that's always bothered me. I'm like, why don't I just save a couple bucks and buy Escudo? I'm not going to taste the difference.
Yeah, I've never had. Of course, I never had the Dunhill one, but I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean.
Oh, I'll drop $12 on a 10 of the Escudo.
And it's pretty readily available, isn't it?
Right, and I had to drop like $18, $19 on Dunhill. It's like, because of that name, get out of here.
Get out of here. But no, this is a really good blend. I like the retro hail. And I must have a weird palate or whatever, but I'm getting like a coffee. Some kind of coffee taste on the back end of the retro hail once I'm done with it. I don't know what that is.
Well, like you're probably tasting just a little bit of that sort of hay at the front, from the Virginias. A little sweet, touch of citrus. That sweet is really what's going to kind of move it along. And then that coffee, because I can get taste of coffee, some kind of roasted nut kind of taste, more ground, even to a certain extent, dip or chewing tobacco has a certain kind of taste that's, I guess you would have to like that kind of stuff, but it has a certain taste that I can just taste just a touch of it, just a little, kind of like a Copenhagen straight cut, and just a touch where it's sort of like ground coffee chocolate, just a touch of it, and it's a little peppery, and I think that's coming from the Perique.
And if I'm thinking back correctly on the first part of my component blends, which I didn't really make it past the Virginias on that, but I did smoke both Virginias, and I got a coffee nut. I remember thinking there was a coffee nuttiness to the Virginias. I never really found that hay, but I do sort of see it in this, that hay lightness. But this is a really nice vapor to start off with. It's sort of refreshing.
This is interesting because this is the third iteration, I think, of Escudo. I think it originally, the Cope brothers produced it in England from like 1910s to like the 50s, and then like I think AC Peterson took it over from like the 50s or maybe the 70s up to like the 90s, and then it disappeared, and then I guess they, like with anything, like the Scandinavian Tobacco Group tag teamed in and just like dropped an elbow on it. But from what I gather, you know, most people, it's kind of weird. Like you talk to some of the old dogs, and they'll tell you that it's not the same. That like the AC Peterson blend was a little richer, and I can get that. But at the same time, I sometimes I'm hard pressed on how you really, like, even without a topping, without anything, how do you screw up a Virginia Perique blend? It seems like a really difficult blend to screw up because you're going to find an audience.
Yeah.
Because your measurements, be it 1090 or 4060, you know, your percentages, I think you're going to still hit an audience. I mean, granted, I don't think you want to smoke straight Perique, you know, that just, it sounds like it just wouldn't be very appetizing, because I find that Perique is a condiment, a truffle, if you will. It's a good add-on. It's an addition that balances out the Virginias and kind of gives it a little bit more character and complexity. But even then, you know, with it being something that's condiment, something that can be light and natural in the background, even if you amped it up to 40 to 60% or 50%, 50-50, you know, I'm pretty sure you'd find an audience.
Yeah. Yeah, Perique and Burley are definitely, to me, add-on blends, or add-on components. What I'd like to try, I don't know if there's a blend out there like this. I mean, I got the components that I can make it myself, but I'd like to see a Latakia Perique blend, like just Latakia and Perique.
Just Latakia and Perique. You think it'd work?
I don't know. Or if that's too much, like a 45% Latakia, 45% Virginia, and then 10% Perique. You know, some kind of vapor, either a Latakia Perique or a vapor Latakia, and see what happens.
Let me ask you something. In that scenario, what do you top it with?
Well, in the scenario of me doing it, nothing. But in like if somebody out there did it, I don't know. I mean, I would like to just have it not topped, just to see, because I'd rather see what the tobacco's doing first. But I don't know. I don't know. I haven't found a topping that I'm like, oh, you know, I like everything that this is topped with. Because sometimes I don't even look. I don't care sometimes. You know what I mean? I probably should look at that, but a lot of times I don't. I'll come up with that blend. I'm gonna play with it. I've been wanting to do that. Maybe that's something we'll do in the coming months. Maybe test each other out, come up with blends on our own, and have each other try them.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Now, granted, of course, I can't like press a bunch or do. All I really am going to be doing is pulling whatever cut I got it in. Like the Perique I got, it's granulated, and then like the Latakia and the Virginias I have, I think, are ribbon cut.
Nice.
So, you know, all I'm going to be doing is just throwing them in there and mixing them around. Really.
I mean, you could technically put it in like a redneck press, something, and clamp it.
Maybe put it in a Ziploc bag, then lay 2 textbooks on it.
I do parchment paper. Well, you can do that too.
Yeah. Parchment paper, something. And then just put something heavy on it.
And it would be kind of like a crumble press.
Yeah. But back to the Escudo. This is a really good blend, I think. right now it's pretty. I mean, it's high, I guess. I mean, it's high on the list right now.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Escudo and its execution, its uniformity. Um, it's amazing. Actually, it is not going to be the most. I don't want to do like too many out of the ballpark comparisons, but there is a standard, a lack of richness in a way in the Virginia that sort of makes this probably people call it the king of Virginia Periques, and I get it, but at the same time, sometimes I want something a little bit more amped up in my Virginia Perique blend. So, this is the perfect everyday smoke, literally nonstop. You could just smoke a pipe and then go grab another one and smoke another one. It's never going to like overpower you or anything like that. It's very sweet, creamy. It's got that kind of, those like sort of coffee, chocolate, like light notes at the end. It's a little spicy. It's so standard and so convenient because those coins, you can fold them. You can rub them out. You can do just about anything with this coin. Because the curly cut is super versatile, and we're going to be dealing with another curly cut this week. But the curly cut itself is just amazing. There is one looming Virginia Perique blend that I have not tried yet that I plan on getting a hold of. It's a little pricey, but the curly cut is actually a block, so it comes in like a rod. It's actually called. So you've tried the Peter Heinrich's Dark Strong, right?
Yeah, I like it.
They have Peter Heinrich's curly block.
Oh,
so
it's a vapor.
It's a vapor. Apparently, it's pretty impressive. I'd like to try it, but I mean, like I said, this would be the standard that I compare everything against. Doesn't necessarily qualify it as the best for me, but I do think universally it's the best for everyone.
It's sort of, again, just going off taste, not going off of readiness or cut or anything. But going back to last week, it is very much the equivalent to Margate as far as its standard. You either go up or down from here, basically.
Yes, but I think that it's universal. It could, well, because I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, and the reason I say I don't isn't necessarily that what you're saying is wrong. It's just that I do think that this is enjoyable, and I think that at the beginning and through time, Margate isn't exactly the most enjoyable.
Okay, well, I mean, but now, but is that more because because you like vapor blends more than English blends? Would that have something to do with it?
It's a pretty good point. I don't know.
I mean, you could almost say that. I don't know, because I like vapors more than I like Englishes. So of course, I think Escudo's better than Margate. I think Escudo's better than Ashton. Just on the simple fact I like vapor more.
Right.
So, I guess I'm just trying to think of like when we're talking about those standards, it's like you go up or down from this point. If Margate is the standard English and this is the standard vapor, then I guess they're sort of akin to one another. It just depends on which blend you like more. We'll gauge what you like.
Right. No, that makes sense. I do think there's a personal preference in everything.
Yes.
Which is why I think that you can do better than Escudo, because your personal taste. Now, granted, your personal taste might be like what I consider middle of the road. That's not an insult. I just think that this is like really balanced.
Yeah.
It's got just enough complexity, just enough of the right elements, that I think it can be universally lauded as the best. And I don't think that moniker is negative or misplaced or prescribed. It's right dead on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's my pick.
Yes. And two things I would say is, getting sort of going into the one we'll tackle tomorrow, is the Elizabethan, and sort of going to stuff and things, the YouTube channel, which I'm sure everybody that's listening to us has watched this channel.
Yes.
He was big Elizabethan guy, and sort of the way I've looked at it, he replaced it with Stratford, and Stratford, is just a no nonsense, just it's just plain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, an everyday smoke, they want it plain. They don't want a lot of complexity. I'm not justifying him. His reasons may be completely different, but justifying some decisions like that in my mind, it's like, well, I could see where, I love the complexity of, I don't know. I mean, just let's just say Escudo. Say Escudo is pretty high complex to me. I may still would like to have Stratford on a day in, day out basis. But that's all subject to the person. But the other point I was going to say is, you were saying that the Virginias in this are complex enough. This is sort of going outside our conversation about the blend itself, but how would you make a vapor more complex if you're not talking about the ratios? How does that come about? Is it where you get your Virginias? Is it how you cut and blend it? Like you know what I mean? What would give the Virginia more complexity, other than adding more or taking it away?
Well, I mean, curing's going to have something to do with that a little bit, I think, and then just like you said, quantity for your percentages. So, but I mean, I do think that the curing process for Virginia's air, flue, sun, even to a certain extent, steamed, which is flue cured, but what I mean is like press steaming, like the way you get like a Cavendish, it's going to affect the way that Virginia performs. Its seed is going to, of course, I've heard different scenarios. I need to research this a little bit heavier, but like the seed of it, like being bright yellow, red, maybe the soil it's grown in, terroir, I guess, as the French say. Anyway, I think that those can have component to the crop yield, but I think that in the blend itself, it's gonna be a game of topping, and blending percentages. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe someone could be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Red Virginias are way richer.
Again, it's all subject to the person. Two more questions, and bringing it back to Escudo. Now, it says it's a combination of full-bodied Virginia from North Carolina and Virginia. Do you know, is this red and brights in here, or is it just...
I think it is a combo of red and bright Virginia. It has a...
Yeah, I think it is too, cause... So looking at this medallion, the dark is definitely the Perique, but then there's a brown, and then there's like a yellow. So I guess it is both, unless I'm reading this wrong.
Well, let's see here. See if I can find something for it here. It just says Virginia. It doesn't really give you this is a full-bodied Virginia from North Carolina and Virginia.
Okay.
Maybe they're just brights.
Well, like I said, it looks like there's both red and bright, based on what I'm looking at. But I have a young man's eye. My second question though is, what do you think the percentage is of Virginia to Perique in this blend?
20 to 30% Perique, 70, 80% Virginia.
Really? Yeah, I feel like we shortchanged everybody last week because I think we're talking so much more about we're getting deeper into these blends.
Well,
And we can't help it. We just like these blends more. I mean,
well, I mean, in the defense of that, like, this is what I'm going to say is going to sound completely insane, but
I'm used to it.
um, I feel like you can do more with a Virginia Perique, because it is really about percentages and toppings, and it's not about which 1700 tobacco types can I put into it to make an English. Because I mean, like, look at Englishes and how they're defined. Like, an English standard, like we discussed, is what? Virginia, Oriental, Latakia.
Yeah.
And then you got some in there that's like, well, we got Cavendish. Well, we also have Perique. Well, it's more Oriental forward. But it's not a Balkan because we didn't have Perique in there. It's not a kitchen sink because there's no black Cavendish. It's just like crazy. Because like what you're having to get involved with is every nuance of every different type. And then because all of them have different characteristics, some are spicier, some are more smoky, some are
Toasty
sweeter, creamer, some are toasty, some have been sugared a little bit with the topping. I mean, all of them can be pretty much different, and then they're blended together, and you're kind of like getting, a cost of all these different flavors. Not a bad thing at all. However, it does add to the aggravation, and I wouldn't even say the enjoyment. I mean, you could say enjoyment because you're sussing out all this stuff, and they are enjoyable to smoke. But sometimes it is very aggravating to go through the rigmarole of being like, well, what is this? Or why is this way? Or, how would you blend this? And what quantities? Do you really need this much more tobacco in terms of Latakia or Oriental? Or, it just, every little aspect changes it. And you can get completely wild. That's why people either love or hate in English, because it's exactly tailored to what they think. And if they don't keep the percentages and the toppings ratio correct, I mean, it's blown. That's the reason they top it and everything, is try to keep a uniformity to it, because crops are going to yield a little bit differently every year. But at the same time, it's like, what if they didn't do the black Cavendish just right? Or like, what if, there's a lot of factors to making an English. That's why it's always amazing when they make one that's consistent.
Mm.
But that's also why I think that people cheat a little bit by putting more Latakia into an English blend, because I think it masks a lot of that. I think you don't even have to worry about topping as much if you're putting a good ratio of Latakia, because it blinds you out to the other flavors, because it's so overpowering. Even if say you used a small amount, like 20%,
yeah,
you're still getting blasted.
Yeah, I mean, now are there any blends? Sort of chasing a rabbit here. Are there any blends that are predominantly Latakia in like dark fired Kentucky? Because both those aren't they produced the same way? Or in a similar way? Just one is taking burley and doing it that way.
One, Kentucky's burley.
Yes.
And it doesn't have the same characteristics.
Well, I know they don't have the same characteristics, but like dark fired, they let it field wilt, and then they hang it up in the barn, and they do the smoldering, and they let it smoke for like 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. Isn't that how Latakia is done though too?
Well, one, Latakia uses much more aromatic wood, so you're looking at your cedars and what have you, which is going to like give off a much more aromatic smoke, which is why you're getting punched in the face. I would love to do a dark fired mesquite and see what would happen to it.
What do they use now?
What, in Latakia?
No, in dark fired.
I think it's just different grades of just oak and stuff, and hickory or something like that, and they just smoke it out.
American.
It's really just hardwoods.
Okay.
And it's a moist kind of sawdust mixture, so it smolders a little bit more. Another difference is they do it for 3 days. I'm pretty sure when you're smoking a Latakia, it's a month.
Because, like, to me, again, I don't know about taste. Since burley doesn't, I guess it's sort of questionable. For the most part, burley just adds smoke, or white burley at least, just adds smoke to your blend. It doesn't really add a flavor that much. But to me, that would like make the perfect, when you say you're going to smoke a tobacco, right? That makes the most sense to me because Latakia is the most smoky tasting. And then the white burley is going to make it so smoky, like the actual smoke. It just seems like they're like a match made in heaven almost.
Yeah.
Because you're tasting that smoky flavor, and you're seeing that smoke as well.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why, like, I even think this is, I mean, if you think about it, you want the thing to be sort of bland and then take on the characteristics of what you're doing to it, which would be smoking it. So it makes the most sense. And I think that burley is a good choice because burley has, I think, a higher nicotine content than Virginia and like your Oriental and etc. But when you smoke it, I think it also tames that. They have to kind of like watch it pretty carefully or else it loses some of that nicotine. And reason why they only do it for a certain amount of days. Because I think if they time that stuff wrong, it ruins the crop. If you over smoke it, it'll ruin it to a Kentuckian.
But it doesn't do that to like a Latakia though.
Well, I mean, obviously not. They smoke it for a month. But then again, do they care about the nicotine or do they care about the flavor? Because I'm not tasting the flavor of tobacco on that. Because the tobacco is like Turkish Samson or like something like that. It's a specific Oriental leaf that they smoke
To make a Latakia?
And you can just smoke that leaf and it's good, but it doesn't taste like the leaf after it's been gone through that process.
Interesting. Well, so are you going about middle with the Escudo?
I'm gonna say upper middle.
Okay. I mean, it's a safe bet, really, just to start your first one out at middle and then adjust as you go. But I really do think that the Escudo is pretty high right now. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to see what Elizabethan has to offer.
And that's interesting too, because like, even if this was like, this is the worst thing I've ever tasted, right? But then the next three are the worst things I actually ever tasted, then I guess this would pull out a win. But I think that overall its characteristics, its ability to be versatile, and an all-day pleasurable smoke makes it really just an upper-tiered middle.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything fancy, but it isn't doing anything that I feel like is breaking me.
It's playing its part well.
That's right.
It's a vapor. It's a good smoke. You can smoke it any time of the day.
Indeed you can.
But, well, I think that concludes our Tobracketology Vapor Part 1. Join us tomorrow as we venture into Elizabethan mixture.
That's right. Enjoy, guys. Enjoy the smoke. Enjoy the road. Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy life.